101 Dalmatian Street is an animated spin-off of the classic Disney animated film from 1961. It aired in early 2019 in the UK and Ireland.
Feeling disappointment?
But then in February of 2020, before life as we know it changed forever, it came to the States on Disney+. As for my overall impression of the show, I have to say it was a fun ride. Definitely a lot I loved about it. Definitely a lot it does well when compared against other cartoons. But also a lot of rough edges. Things that stood out to me as kind of odd choices, especially when it comes to the writing and cinematography. And that makes it a perfect show to talk about and review, albeit a little late, but that's never stopped me. So let's talk about 101 Dalmatian Street and how it modernized the classic family we love from 60 years back.
101 Dalmatian Street.
The general premise is that this family of Dalmatians live in this multi-storied flat in a section of London, UK, called Camden. The mom and dad, named Delilah and Doug, have to work during the day, and so leave it to the eldest siblings, Dylan and Dolly, to watch over the other 97 pups. The episodes generally follow the antics and efforts of Dolly and Dylan as our main protagonists, with a host of other characters along for the ride. Ah, siblings. I remember when I used to terrorize my younger sister. Good times. Also, I love how the mom always looks so tired. Like her expression perfectly says, "Look, I birthed all 99 of you, and you better treat me as such, you little sons of bitch." Now, what struck me about this show, and made me decide to watch it in the first place, was its character design. Now, I remember seeing some art of the characters a long time back and being like, wow, who are these characters? These are some really fun designs. When you watch the show, you can't help but fall in love with their designs. There's something really endearing about them in the way they're drawn with these rounded canines, simple circular eyes, and geometric bodies with bold outlines. Plus, this is probably just an American's perspective here, but some of the British voice acting is really charming.
That is so silly. Maybe we should call him Mr. Funny Face.
Sometimes when foreign films or cartoons get completely overdubbed in a native language, I feel like you lose something in the process. Now, obviously, there's a necessity of translation, cultural idioms that don't translate over. I mean, the topic's been beaten to death in the dubbing, subbing wars of anime, for God's sakes. All I'm saying here is that the choice to keep some foreign talent and preserve the accents makes the show stand out more in America, and it feels like the show continues to fully embrace its London setting despite localization.
Rain? What are the chances?
We do live in London.
Continuing to talk about character design, the creators do a great job at distinguishing between the different characters, the different Dalmatians specifically, when they need to. Now, cartoons usually differentiate between characters with colorful palettes and varied shapes. I mean, look at SpongeBob, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Rocko's Modern Life, heck, even Aqua Teen Hunger Force. But when your characters are all black and white dogs, you have to get a little more inventive. We've got Dolly with her unique arrangement of spots and colorful necklaces that serve to highlight her chaotic, fun-loving character.
So gonna rip it up.
And here's Dylan, with his plain red collar and more rounded features that convey someone who shows more restraint.
Emergency supplies, 30 bags of kibble, 75 gallons of water.
As for memorable side characters, we have Diesel with his stocky unibrow design, recognizable at a distance by those muddy spots.
Bro.
Breakfast.
Enjoy.
Dante, who has one of the most bizarre designs and sticks out in a crowd, which is fitting for his naysaying tendencies.
Mark my barks! You're playing with dark forces!
Dallas, Destiny, and Deja Vu were actually made purposefully confusing, though are subtly distinguishable by their collars.
I'm not Destiny. I'm Destiny.
Oh, Deja Vu. Don't mind Big Bro. He's got party brain.
Ah, that's it. Wait, I thought I was Deja Vu.
Strangely enough, turning the one diva character into three actually makes them more entertaining and less obnoxious. Now, the non-Dalmatian characters are a bit hit or miss. The horse officer Pearl and her oblivious rider are really unique and fairly well-rounded characters, often playing a pivotal role in various story arcs.
You'd be wanting a police escort. Come on.
But aren't you working?
He'll be deciding between feta or falafel forever. Now, giddy up!
But then there are characters that are really kind of one-dimensional when it comes to personality or design. Like there's this poodle named Portia, who comes off as this goth, kind of mysterious character, but Their color scheme is so bright, it almost reminds me of more of something at a rave, you know? And like, what is this kind of hanging off her ear there? I'm not really sure. Her design is so busy, it kind of conflicts with her character sometimes. And then in some other episodes, you can't even take her seriously.
But I just want us to be the same. Two souls as one.
Or there's this squirrel Sid, whose design is pretty unimaginative and whose only real notable qualities are that he's acrobatic, a bit of a mischief maker, and he likes nuts. That's not a cartoon character, people. That's just a real-life squirrel.
You'll crack it one day, though. The jump, not your nut. Nut. And he's back.
Some of the least enjoyable episodes for me are the ones that rely heavily on these shallow characters, especially the ones that revolve around this one antagonist named Clarissa. Think Angelica from the Rugrats, but not as likable and not nearly as intelligent either. She often just puts an obvious obstacle in the Dalmatians' way, quite literally, and sometimes makes moves against them that are just downright cruel and unwarranted.
Ooh, lucky me. Lunch. Here. Fetch.
This isn't a likable antagonist, it's just plain mean. And to make matters worse, we already have another snooty character named Constantine, who is more fleshed out and far more clever and entertaining to watch.
A new meditation chamber. Damage this one, and I'll personally infest you with fleas. That's private property. I'm calling the police. PC Pearl.
Let's talk about the show's writing. The characters are fairly well written, probably half the time, with meaningful conflicts and interactions that develop and evolve. We have plenty of times when Dolly and Dylan have to learn from each other or put aside their differences and work toward a common goal. We have a great detective episode where the siblings are both trying to prove Diesel innocent of a crime while track down the real culprit. And there's a great romance episode in which a Rottweiler named Roxy has the hots for Dylan of all dogs, but ends up making her best friend Dolly jealous in romantic pursuits. I love the way Roxy's always drooling so much in this episode. That is absolutely true of large dogs, especially Rottweilers.
Hey, you're invading my space.
But the other half of the time, we have these slow-moving, uninspired, and sometimes downright confusing episodes. One of the worst is Balancing Act, in which Dolly gets stuck atop a shipping crate, and that's it. That's the whole episode. There's no change in stakes, no build-up to a finale, no real change in any circumstances for the whole episode until the end when, problem solved without our protagonist helping in any way or learning anything. I mean, Dolly was feeling guilty for the whole episode, and kind of at the end of the episode, she admits to her guilt, and then the storm dissipates, and it's all kind of symbolic. But, I mean, it's so heavy-handed, and there's not enough going on to really warrant that metaphor, or the use of it, you know? Episodes like A Boom Night, May Contain Nuts, Don't Push Your Luck, and A Right Royal Rumble have similar issues, with just not enough plot development in them to warrant an entire 11 minutes. These episodes often have a good setup and good resolutions, but are just fairly predictable, slow, and somewhat unmemorable. Then there are episodes in which there is some good variety in the writing, but things fall flat because of some odd cinematography choices and questionable plot points. Girls' Day Out is a good example of this. We start off this episode on a promising strong note with an unexpected twist on a mom-daughter relationship. Delilah here is in the wrong and tries to make it up with her daughter Dolly with a day at the spa.
I'm so sorry, Dolly. I just thought...
Whatever.
But from then on, everything goes downhill. First off, when they walk into the spa, there's no good establishing shot that shows us what it fully looks like inside. Instead, we just have this flattened, rendered down version here. This makes the next couple of scenes fairly confusing since everything after is presented in disjointed camera shots, separated by unique transitions that imply the passage of a lot of time despite the spa being fairly small, I would assume. All of these shots are way zoomed in too, which is disorienting, and they don't really flow together well. And not to mention that the humor is fairly hit or miss, especially when it comes to timing and delivery.
That tickles.
So, shall we try a piranha petty?
Think I'll pass.
And then later, even though it's charming seeing how Dolly and her mom begin to make up, All of these problems kind of kill this entire visit to the spa. Later in the episode, Dolly and her mom get mistaken for hyenas and are getting transported to the Serengeti? Weird, but okay, I can roll with it. And then Dolly somehow saves the day by doing college-level physics because she saw her mom do something similar on accident back in the spa. What the heck? This is just lazy writing. There are already 2 characters obsessed with science, precision, and physics. Why is Dolly also now an expert? She could have used something to unlock the door of the van and push the cages out the back, or maybe copy her mom like before, but shoot the water to distract the driver instead. Those solutions sound much more her style. The formula for compelling cartoon characters is to give them unique traits and have them interact with the world and solve problems in a way only they could do, which I really don't feel is happening here. A lot of the episodes falter like this, using these easy out plot points that don't always reflect the true traits of the characters, or don't reflect convincing characters at all. But like I said before, there are some moments where the writing and storyboarding and cinematography shine. The doghouse, for example, is this episode where Delilah has to rush home in time with a human to pose as their owner in order to keep pest control from impounding their entire family on the pretext that they're all strays. Clarissa plays a creative role in this one, and her action seemed warranted for once. The pest control is a real antagonist backed by clever musical and sound cues that threatens real consequences if the dogs fail to deter them. And the struggle of how the Dalmatians do so is both entertaining and compelling, involving a lot of characters who each bring their unique abilities to the table.
And last up, humans never stop talking.
So we wired this one for non-stop sound.
Are you just plain nuts?
Wrapping up, talking about the writing, there are some great touches that make the show and its world really unique. From a dog's perspective, the humans are the pets.
Can we keep him? Can we call him Mr. Fuzzy? Please?
The Dalmatians get called Ruff Raff instead of Riff Raff. The idea of the worldwide woof, as it's called, is fairly creative. And all the iterations of Dolly's catchphrase are hard not to smile at.
Bow wacka wow! Bow wacka wow! Bow wacka wow!
Oh, honey.
Just gonna go hang with Fergus on the barge. Bow wacky wow.
Hey, I don't sound like that.
Bow wacka.
The animation is stellar. It's really fluid and clean with a good mix of tweened and fully drawn movement. There's a lot of subtle movement in the ears, eyebrows, mouths, which makes for some hilarious expressions that never border on grotesque or uncanny. There's always a lot going on screen, a lot of rapid movement of shapes, limbs, and characters that makes even some of the slower, more poorly written episodes really fun to watch. Even if some of the composition of the shots is sometimes a little odd, the animation is always exceptional. The humor is also fine. The noir mystery episode I mentioned is full of good tropes. The interactions between the younger pups are always great, and just about everything Dolly says and does is hilarious. In a lot of episodes, the characters are bursting with witty remarks and unexpected gags. But kind of like the writing, in others, the quote-unquote funny moments are well-trodden tropes that are a bit too familiar to be funny on their own, if you know what I mean.
Oh, she probably didn't even understand me. Watch. Do you speak dog?
Moo, moo.
Or sometimes it's just the delivery that feels a bit off. Like there's something that seems like it was intended to be humorous, but it didn't carry the impact it seemed like it would.
You don't say.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Guess they're still adjusting to country mode? Now, where is this beach?
Though for the intended age and audience, it's fine. And none of the humor or dialogue is grating or out of place for sure.
Name begins with a D. It's a dog. One of my honeys. Okay.
And the show does manage to pull everything together for a fantastic finale that is incredibly nostalgic, but features some of the best writing and jokes of the whole season.
Literally dogged by failure.
Gosh, how old is Cruella de Vil now? She's gotta be over 100 at least. The way they pull this character off in the modern era is incredible, and it's definitely worth a watch. To wrap up, 101 Dalmatian Street is a great modernization of the classic. It can struggle with its writing and its humor, a little bit of its storyboarding and cinematography could use some polish as well, but it manages to create a really unique world with lovable characters whose modern designs are very endearing. In this era of reboots and remakes and basically unoriginality, it's great to see Disney doing something entirely brand new and modern with old franchises and IPs. Definitely worth the watch. Definitely looking forward to a season 2 where we can see more of these adorable puppies.
Gotta love this boomtown.
Especially on Boom Night.